Welcome! It's a great day to be a miner. In today's video, we're doing some expansion. We're going to run a couple of brand new outlets, a couple of new breakers, as well as a new shelf in my unfinished basement in order to place some new mining equipment. Without further ado, let's spin that intro. Pew! All right, so what are we working on today? This is our Spartan rig. This is where its final resting spot is. It is in my unfinished basement. What I have here, I have my main breaker box, and then I've got a single outlet ran off of a 20 amp breaker out of the box. And from there, I've got a nice little extension cord running into a fairly heavy duty power strip, and then ran to both my server power supply and the ATX power supply in this rig. And of course the monitor and all of the accessories are all plugged in. This is running here, it's doing, let's see, 329 mega hash, and it's doing just under 1,000 watts. I also have it hooked to a Wi-Fi smart plug that gives me the power reading. So what am I doing today? Well, today we are going to make another shelf, and we're going to install it over here on this wall. Of course, we need to do a little bit of cleanup, but what we're going to do is we're going to drop two new outlets straight out of the ceiling. We're going to run it right up across from the main breaker box, run it over, and each outlet is going to be its own 20 amp breaker. I'm going to put another shelf here, going to put a whole nother rig. It's going to be all 30 series, as well as put a ASIC S9 on here to get some Bitcoin hashing going around. So that is the plan. This is also a nice little, just a whatever shelf that I built for the wife. It actually came out fairly good. I just kind of framed in some plywood, put some of these heavy duty shelves, use some tap cons into the wall, and then I use some of this metal strapping. It's kind of hard to see because it's dark down here. This metal strapping from Lowe's. I did a 90-degree twist in it going up and got it hooked up into the rafters. Right there is one. And it has worked out pretty good for all of her overflow, so you can tell there's Halloween stuff. It's a seasonal storage, mostly Easter stuff, Christmas stuff, whatever, extra storage in the basement. But, so what we're gonna need to do our job, let's go back over here. Here is the main breaker box. We have a 200 amp service, kind of dark down here. But I do have 8 spare spots here. I ordered 2 more of these nice little 20 amp breakers. And we're gonna put one in here, we're gonna put one in here, then we're gonna pop it up, we're gonna run it right up through, run it right across the ceiling, above the storage, and then we will drop it straight down the wall. We're gonna put a board on the wall for the couple outlets right here, and we're gonna put the shelf on the wall. Here is the electrical conduit I'm gonna use right here, just some nice electrical conduit. And what other parts do we need? We need a hammer drill. A hammer drill is just like a drill, except it actually kind of does what it says. It hammers while it drills. It taps, it kind of vibrates in and out, and it helps you get through the hard masonry surface. And then of course you need a masonry tip to get through there, or masonry bit. And then to hold that kind of shelving in the wall, you will need some tap cons. Tap cons are special for masonry for block. So there's the ones I'm using. And I've got a couple of these super heavy duty shelving pieces I got from Lowe's. And then I will cut just some plywood to fit there. And then here are all my electrical pieces. I have one of those, a second one, a couple outlets, 20 amp outlets, another plate, some nice little wire connectors, I got these for in the ceiling where I'm going to drop it down. I'm actually going to put a couple sealed boxes here, junction boxes, and this will allow me to tap into them easily if I need to run something else out of them down the line. So up in the ceiling, when it runs across, it'll hit into one of these, and then it'll be a sealed, just put a cap on it like that. And then the wire will drop down out of that and to the outlet through the conduit. And then from the outlet, obviously, I'll plug it in, run my strip, and run my rig and my ASICs. These will be the little connectors that come up out of the top of the boxes. And that's going to be all the parts that we're going to need for this project. All right, so now I cut a 20 by 44 piece of plywood. I believe that is a 5/8 inch, pretty thick, heavy duty piece of plywood that I had laying around, and I cut it 20 inches deep, which is 2 inches deeper than the actual shelf. And then I made it 44-inch wide. My other shelf is only 39 to 40 inches, but I figure that will give me a little bit of extra space on the end for monitor, keyboard, mouse, and for the ASIC that I want to put on the end. Both the shelves are up. I've got 3 tap cons holding each shelf up. And then to hold the shelf to the metal bracket, I'm just got a random screw here. Let's see if we can get a focus. Focus. There we go. I just have a random screw with a couple of washers so it won't go clear through the board, and that will go in the 6 holes to hold the piece of wood to the shelf. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and just like that, we have a super sturdy 44-inch wide by 20 deep shelf that we're gonna put our 3070 mining rig on, and we're gonna put an ASIC right here on the edge. We're gonna put a couple outlets right down here on the wall. I think I'm just gonna put a piece of board drilled into the wall right there, coming straight down, and then I'll hook 2 outlets into it, and enough space on that board to where I can hook a nice power strip. And there will be the resting place of a second 30 series rig and my S9 ASIC. And it'll go good with the old Spartan rig clear over yonder. All right, half the battle's done. Electricity next. So I got my Romex here. I got a 12-3 wire. It's a pretty solid wire. I'm gonna use this to run across and down. It's basically the same wire that's already running all through the house. And I'll run 2 runs all the way to each to its own 20 amp breaker. And then for the outlets themselves, I am going to put this here board. I'm gonna mount it right here, put some tap cons, probably 8 tap cons to hold this board on the wall. 2 in the corners, 2 and 2, so I'll have 8 on it. And then I'm gonna put an outlet here with a conduit drop, and then I'm gonna put an outlet here with a conduit drop, and then I'll probably put a surge strip right here, and maybe actually 2 surge strips here, 1 to each, and that's how we are going to power it. And that will be the bulk of the physical mounting, and then we will move on to the actual electrical. To do the electrical, I'm going to go ahead and have the outlets wired and all ready in here, brought and pulled up to the junction boxes. And then I think I'll go ahead and run the wire across. And then once I'm actually ready to connect it, once the breakers come in, I'm still waiting on the breakers, then I'll shut the whole house power off for the whole panel, and then wire in the new breakers, punch out the tab in the circuit box, and punch out the tab in the breaker box, and then connect it, and then flip the main shut off back on, and fingers crossed we don't blow anything up or burn the house down. So, and if you don't know anything about electric like me, I'm not responsible. Don't do what Donnie Don't does.
only come out at night.
All right, we finally got this project done. It has taken us probably a week and a half. I had to wait for some parts to come in, but here we have two brand new outlets. There's one, and we run up the conduit. There is a second one. We run back up here. We have two junction boxes in case we want to tap into these later. And if we step back, here is our brand new shelf mounted into the block. The wiring will run across, and here it's still running across the top of the block. Here is our beautiful Spartan rig. Back up a little bit. There is our beautiful Spartan rig. And then it runs over here. I have one wire running up into a junction box, and then I have the other just kind of elbowing down. There was no room to put it into the top of the breaker box, into the panel. So I ran it right here into the side and used a 3/4 inch wire clamp to hold them both into place. And then once I was inside, I added two brand new 20 amp breakers. Let's see if we can get in here. And right here, these two that say spare, I need to relabel those. Those are our brand new 20 amp breakers. I've got one for each outlet. So each outlet should handle plenty of power. I probably should have ran some 30 amp and actually went up to 240, but for my needs, I wanted to keep 120, and I'm gonna just put two outlets right there. So honestly, this was a big learning experience for me. I am not an electrician. I had to consult a lot of people, and if you are not familiar with electric and you do not know how to wire something in, do not do it yourself. Consult an electrician. Find out if you should be doing it or not, because this can be quite dangerous. What I ended up doing was, outside I have a main switch to turn off the whole house. I turned it off, then I turned off this 200 amp breaker right here, which shut off the power to the entire house. Then I took my front panel off, and inside this panel is actually kind of simplistic. They have, well, it's complicated, but it's simplistic. They have a couple different bars, and the bars have one bar is for neutral, one bar is for your ground, and then you run the hot wire into the back of the breaker, and then you just slot the breaker in, and that powers the entire breaker. I did that for each of these. It was kind of hard to get into this one because to get the wires in, because this breaker box is pretty full inside. I have a pretty good electrician that did this, so it made it a little easier because it was neat and tidy. I'll open that up in a minute and show you, because most people won't have that to deal with. And as for wiring up the actual outlets, let's run back across. As for actually wiring these outlets up, They have double poles so that they could be a pass-through in the middle of a circuit. So basically it has one green screw, that's your ground. That will be your bare wire in a normal 3-wire Romex. And then your neutral wire goes into your silver terminal. And then your hot wire will go into your bronze screw. And this is the standard. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that's how yours is wired or the same wiring or the same electricity that you're using. So like I said, if you are uncomfortable, consult an electrician. It's not worth frying yourself to save a few $100. So let's open up our panel and take a look at what it actually looks like inside of this guy. Whee. And I'm leaving it live this time because I'm not actually going to take anything off. Oh, one other thing, let's go ahead and test the power. So I picked up one of these very handy dandy testers. This one was about 15 bucks. It's very highly rated. I'll put a link in the description. And you put your batteries in this thing and then you put it on a live wire. And if it's live, it will blink red and make an alert sound. So let's just see what that does. And so for a demonstration, we'll go ahead and just put this on here. This is a non-live wire. This is just coax. And these are live wires coming out of the top here. See, these are my new wires and we have live wattage coming out of there. So let's go test the actual outlet and make sure that we have 120. I haven't even tested the actual outlet with a tester yet. So, all right, back over at our outlets, let's test first with our handy dandy tester and see if we have power. Okay, it has a little plastic probe. Okay, outlets have power. Let's check the actual voltage on these. We put it over here to our AC. And then we're gonna put our black in this side and our red in the other side. And we have 121.8 and black on the wide side, red on the other, 121.7. And then if you want to also test, you can put your black down in the ground and still put your hot in the hot. Good touch here. There we go, what was it, 121.9. And then the same thing as if you put it in the black in the wide side and the red in your smaller side, 121.8. So we know these outlets here are good. 123.6. Both outlets are juiced up. They're running the proper voltage. They're both on their own 20 amp. Let's go take a look in the box. All right, let's take this box open and take a look. You know what? Let's just snap it open. That was quick. All right, so we got our panel open. Let's take a closer look at what we got inside of this guy here. And just a quick touch. Again, I am not an electrician. I'm a homeowner who loves crypto. So here, let's see if we can get a little better light in this thing. Right about there. All right, so here is our new wire. It comes in right here and it runs right in through, and then there's 2 wires. And what we did was we went ahead and ran the ground. There is a bar in here. Kind of hard to see. Let's see if we can get a little better light. See, all the grounds are coming straight down and then they elbow over into a bar. And then the same with the neutrals, but they're running into this bar down here. All of those white are neutrals. So we're running a neutral into that bar, a ground into the top bar, and you can see the ends sticking out. And then for our live hot wire, our black, we're running right down into the 20 amp breaker. And then for that breaker, you just kind of click the back end and then you snap it forward by rocking it forward. And then of course I had the 200 amp service right here turned off, and I had the outside service turned off because I'm a little skittish because I'm not an electrician and I didn't want to electrocute myself. But you can see how nicely this whole box has been ran. He has everything labeled. He left the jackets on there so that it was easier to identify which wire actually goes where. And then of course inside the actual panel lid for the breakers, he has it all nicely labeled. And of course we had this little punch out board for our phone and cable, which we don't use phones, so that's all wasted wiring. But there you have it. We got it wired. It's wired up with 2 new 20 amp breakers, 2 new outlets. Again, if you're not an electrician and you're nervous with electricity, hire an electrician, consult a professional. Don't do what Donnie Don't does. Hey, what is that? Where did that come from? Well, there you have it. 2 brand new dedicated breakers and outlets and a brand new shelf to house my new mining rig and an S9 Antminer. If you saw something that I did wrong or something that I could have done better, make sure to just comment down below. Tell me, educate me. I am not an electrician. And I want to go ahead and thank CryptoShape, the Great Baldini, Mastermind Crypto, anybody else that helped me and gave me some advice on this build. Make sure to check out their channels. I will link them down in the description below. If you are uncomfortable working with electricity, make sure to consult a professional, consult an electrician. It is worth the money. I will make sure to link some of the building materials that I used in this video down in the description. If you like this video, you know what to do. Smash that like button and subscribe for future content. Thanks for coming along and enjoy the ride. Pew!